Also on the Oz tomorrow, the Nats v Libs and carbon emissions has been front page news for the entire week, and it's going to reach its zenith tomorrow because the Nationals are demanding a socio-economic safety valve and regular reviews of the impacts of net zero emissions by 2050 on regional jobs and industries, giving Scott Morrison fewer than 3 days to win their support for the government's Glasgow climate package. The Australian can reveal that the National MPs want the Prime Minister to lock in protections for their communities by inserting a regional socio-economic safety safeguard into Australia's climate change update on the COP26 summit in Glasgow. I think what the Nats have been what's been leaking out of the Nats party room over the past couple of days, Leisa, doesn't seem all of that far-fetched. I think that they seem to be on the money. They're looking after their constituents and they're worried about regional Australia.
And I think Barnaby Joyce has, done a great job at actually outlining where they stand. I think he's a voice probably for people who may not normally vote for the National Party and may vote for the Liberals or perhaps even Labor. Yeah. But when it comes to net zero and the fact that they're looking at what the impact will be on agriculture, what the impact will be on the resource sector, at the end of the day, to the average mum and dad, that's jobs. That's being able to pay your mortgage. It's being able to put food on your table, pay school fees if your children are in the private school sector. So Barnaby Joyce is bringing it right down to a common sense view, if you like. And look, at the same time as he's putting all of this out and saying, look, I want to make sure that the communities are looked after, and it's basically giving them a trigger point, if you like, to go back and relook at this net zero commitment down the track. But you've got Liberal Party MPs who represent regional areas who are also now going to say, well, hang on, if you're looking after the country, you also need to make sure that our constituents in these regional seats know that they're being looked after, because there are also resource jobs and agricultural jobs dependent and will be impacted by net zero. So you have to look after everybody and make sure that nobody is going to end up economically worse off through this commitment to net zero. Now, look, we are all for reducing emissions, but when it comes to the resource sector and it comes to net zero, it should be about transitioning, not about a complete extinction. And I think that's what hits home with the average person. It's not about extinction. It's about transitioning through, and we need baseload power to do that. Look at what's happening overseas. Look at Europe. They're in for a very cold winter if they can't fix this.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I think I've been saying all week, if you're going to put a policy forward, cost it out so it makes sense to the layman. So you're going to know how much is going to be added to your power bill every 3 months. Like, just make it simple for people to understand, because quite frankly, we're sick of listening to politicians after COVID, and we'd just like to know the bare minimum so we can get out and get back to watching Squid Game or something like that.
And move on from net zero, because what will come next will be the federal election.
Yeah, 100%. You're so right.